It is a good morning. You're listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann. In the morning, we're missing Melody. I had to do my own tap dance this morning. She had a meeting, had some things to do this morning, and I told her I got you covered, so she owes me big time. We're going to take care of that. You're listening to Power Talks, where truth is in the talk. There is power in the truth, and we believe power talks. So much absurdity in the news today, so we're going to start out with the Boy Scouts. Now, I was a Girl Scout, and I know, don't give me all these phone calls right now about how the Girl Scouts are corrupted and they're all this and that, because I know that, but they weren't when I was a youngster. And we did lots of things. You know, now, I heard somebody make the comment, well, these girls want to join the Boy Scouts because they're tired of doing crafts. Well, if you're Girl Scouts, if that's all they're doing is crafts, you probably need to find a new leader. You've got a leader that doesn't know how to go camping, doesn't know how to do other things. That is where somebody had called me 2 or 3, maybe it was last year. It's been a while back, on my show on CSC Talk Radio. And they asked me if I knew how to fold the American flag. And I said, well, yes, I do. And that is where I learned how to fold, the etiquette of folding and presenting the flag and taking the flag down, was when I was a Girl Scout. Well, the girls now want to join the Boy Scouts, and the Boy Scouts, being all open, are letting the Girl Scouts in. And I'm just going to share this with you, and to me it's absurd, and I don't think that these type of things bring the country together. I think they do more to divide than they do to unite. But that's my opinion. I could be wrong. Maybe we'll look down the road one day and say that was a good thing. I doubt it, but let's look at this. It says the Boy Scouts organization will change its name to reflect its coming new membership now that girls are allowed to join the formerly all-male organization. By the way, the Girl Scouts aren't too happy about this. This marks an end to a 108-year tradition due to the forces of political correctness, and I put there, you mean political stupidity. Now, I also had I had 2 older brothers. I still have 2 older brothers, and they were Boy Scouts and went all the way through to Eagle Scouts. Let me continue in this article. The Boy Scouts of America announced on May 2nd, which was yesterday, that starting in February, its flagship program will be called Scouts BSA. Now, we could call that other things, but we're going to go with this. Scouts BSA, according to the Chicago Tribune, saying that the name change process was incredibly fun. It was incredibly fun. Chief Scout Executive Mike Serbaugh stated that many different names were considered, I bet they were, during the deliberations. We wanted to land on something that evokes the past but also conveys the inclusive nature of the program going forward. We're trying to find the right way to say we're here for both young men and young women. The famed youth organization noted that the parent group will still be known as the Boy Scouts of America, and that its program for 7 to 10-year-olds will continue to be called the Cub Scouts. But the Boy Scouts program for ages 11 to 17 will change. It says here in this article, the group has already eliminated the boys-only rules for the Cub Scouts, and approximately 3,000 girls have joined the group the group that claims to be the Cub Scouts. And the Scouts BSA will join admitting girls later this year. They will begin, I can't read this morning. As far back as 2015, BSA began the process of considering allowing girls to join the group. And by 2017, it had decided to eliminate its boys-only focus. Now, Scouts BSA units, though, will not be co-ed. They're not going to let them be co-ed. Now, I don't know how that's going to work. The sexes will be separated into their own groups, though the 2 programs will be similar. So you're really just going to have a set of Boy Scouts that are all girls and a set of Boy Scouts that are all boys, is what I'm understanding here. So they're not really joining one another? Well, isn't that what we already have? We have Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts? It says, but the BSA's move has caused strained relations with the Girl Scouts of America. Well, I can see why, Both of them are having trouble getting children to sign up. They need recruitment. And I don't know what the reasons for that happen to be. You know, I'm in rural America. Now, when I grew up, I was in the city. I was in the Kansas City area, Raytown, Missouri. And my brothers were very active. My two older brothers were very active in Boy Scouts. But when we moved down here to the country, of course, they were already grown. They graduated high school and all that before we moved. I was in my freshman year of high school. Talk about culture shock. And I was a cadet in the Girl Scouts at that time, so I had to quit my Girl Scouts when we moved. Never rejoined. I don't know if there really was a troop in the area, not close by. And, farm kids, it's a little different. It's just a little different with the farm kids. But these Girl Scouts, at least when I was, we had camp outs. We had camp in the summer, where you went to summer camp, Girl Scout camp. My brothers went to Boy Scout camp. They had overnights and did all kinds of things. You learn to cook over the open fire. You learn to do this. You learn how to do that. It wasn't just crafts when I was a Girl Scout. But here they say they're not going to be co-ed. They're going to keep the sexes separated. And I'm thinking, well, why don't they just unite the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts of America and keep it what it is? Because that's what it truly is anyway. They're all separated. I don't know. Maybe they should have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and I haven't got a clue who I am Scouts, and then just have them have troop competitions and may the best Scout win. I don't know. But it's just another example of how confused and messed up this world seems to be. They don't know who they are. The girls want to join the Boy Scouts. Well, why don't the girls want to join the Girl Scouts? And now they say they're going to be kept separate. So how is that any different? How is that inclusive? And I could see it causing a little trouble when they're in the senior scouts with the 16 and 17-year-olds being co-ed. I can see what that'll do when they have their overnights. So anyway, we won't go there. I don't want to concentrate on this very much, but I do want to mention Kathy Griffin while we're on this first segment here. Kathy Griffin, she was on Seth Meyers' show late last night, and she claims that Sean Hannity and Reince Priebus are going to jail. She doesn't say why, although she's throwing out this victim card now. She's the victim because after what she did, now she claims it this way. This is how she says this. This is their conversation on the Late Show last night. And Griffin says, she says, oh, you know who twatted me last night? That's like tweeted, I guess, twatted. And Meyer says, well, who twatted you? Who twatted me on the Twitter? Sean Hannity is obsessed with me. He is obsessed with me. And so last night he wrote another blog about my freaking Trump mask picture with the ketchup. Well, it wasn't a mask picture. She actually had this prop of a severed head. It wasn't a picture. She says, you all know the picture, and changed my life. Anyway, so he does another blog about it. And I wrote to him and I said, I don't know if you are going to do very well in jail because someone like you, the rate of recidivism is going to be very high. Meyer says recidivism is a good thing to knock him on. Yeah, it's a good word, right? Griffin says, well, let's look at that word, recidivism. You know me, I like to look up the words, see what they mean. Is the act of a person repeating an undesirable behavior after they have either experienced negative consequences of that behavior or have been trained to extinguish the behavior. Well, would that also not apply to Kathy Griffin and her behavior? Her behavior as she hates President Donald Trump and continues to use her vulgar language at him, holding severed head, excusing it, saying it's okay, it's comedy, taking back a so-called apology, and then using vulgarity to... And now she's claiming to be the victim because people are writing about her, and I guess I would be talking about her. She's a sad individual. She really is a sad individual. I call it a nasty woman. She's claiming the victim to be the victim here. And, of course, yesterday I had mentioned that she was complaining about that because she had like a 2-month investigation at her because of what she had done with this severed head. It wasn't a picture. It was a prop of a head. She said it was dripping with ketchup. Perhaps it was ketchup. Perhaps it was some other kind of gook that they make look like blood. But anyway, it was to look like blood. And so she was investigated for possible plot to assassinate the president. Now, she's not the only one with the severed head. If you remember, it was, I lost his name here. He had a show. He's the guy with the big head, the comedian with the big head. I lost his name. Anyway, he was doing the same thing, only it was in a picture, like a cartoon picture. And that was during the campaign, not after the election. I don't understand. I understand not liking someone or their policies or being a socialist instead of someone who loves liberty and independence, although they seem to want to be free to do whatever they want. They don't want consequences for their actions. But to say that Sean Hannity, and I don't know why she would think Reince Priebus, are going to go to jail because they wrote a blog about what she did is crazy. Or that they twatted her on Twitter. They twatted her on Twitter. I believe that's tweet, but I don't know. I don't know the language. Hillary Clinton is at it again. But this time she's almost willing to take the blame. Almost willing to take the blame. She's actually saying because she called herself a capitalist that hurt her in the election, in the primaries. Well, I guess it probably did because most of Bernie Sanders, the young people, were following Bernie Sanders because he was claiming to be a capitalist. I'm sorry, we have a caller, and I missed that. We have Neil from Missouri. Neil, how are you today?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Trying to stay dry in this thunderstorm, but I was calling about this whole Boy Scout thing. I'm an Eagle Scout. I spent over 20 years as an adult leader in the scouting program.
Yes.
But they started this stuff with the females back in the 60s.
Yes,
I don't know if you're aware of the Explorer Scout program. Not all Scout troops have an Explorer Scout program.
I remember hearing about it. We didn't participate in that, I don't think.
Right.
Go ahead.
But about half back then in the 60s, about half the troops had Explorers who were high school age guys. Separate. It's a Boy Scout program, but it's a separate group. But in the 60s, they started letting females into those groups. And the Explorer posts themselves, the guys got to vote whether or not they wanted to go co-ed or not. Some Explorer posts had strictly female explorers, some had male explorers, and then some were co-ed. And so this program has been, of the destruction of the scouting program has been going on for over 50 years now. Yeah, for a long time they've been in this. The reason, the bottom line is they want to destroy the training for males in this country.
Yeah, I want to talk about that. We've only got a little bit of time here before we go into the break. I want to talk about that. That is something that Tucker Carlson had a series on, the demasculating of the men and the males. And I raised 5 sons, and I have seen some of this and the discrimination against the boys in schools, in public school. So I do want to talk about that, but we are heading into a break here, so I want to cut us short right now so we can continue that later. The Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, they are a good thing, but it's being hijacked, and your sons are being discriminated against, not your daughters. Your sons are being discriminated against. We're going into a break. I want to talk to Neil about that, but the number to call is 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Gold and silver is tremendously undervalued. Global demand vastly exceeds mine supply by more than 60% annually. There is little in the financial world more certain than a coming explosion in the prices of gold and silver. The U.S. dollar continues to lose value and respect as the world's reserve currency. Our nation faces challenges on many fronts, and a day doesn't pass without another economist bringing forth warnings of impending economic calamity. There has never been a better time than right now to acquire physical gold and silver. Discount Gold and Silver Trading was founded on the principles of truth and honesty. We believe in providing a quality product, quality service, and most importantly, competitive pricing. We provide all forms of precious metals, including American gold, silver, platinum, and rare investment and circulated coins. Silver bars, rounds, and 90% silver bags are on hand for the silver investor. Gold self-directed IRAs are available. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free, that's 1-800-375-4188.
Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a reestablished Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, CROSS, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
Years ahead of the dominant media, FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
And we have returned to listening to Power Talks with Melody and Beth Ann, but we're minus Melody today. You're stuck with Beth Ann. I'm covering for it all. And we were talking with Neil as we went into that break about the Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and the Explorers. And I do remember the name Explorers, Neil, but I wasn't a part of that. But I do know that they are trying to make everybody the same. So, you know, they want to claim this equality thing, which I believe in equality. I believe I'm equal to my husband, except when I need to pick up heavy packages or need to do things that I can't do, then he's a little more equal. He's a little above me. But then I can do things that he cannot do. And they don't want to emphasize the strengths of the sexes. They just want to say we're all the same. And so they're taking the males because the males are the stronger. And I'm going to get all these women mad at me. They are the leaders. And now I'm a female that I kind of can be a leader, but I don't want to be the head of my family. I want my husband to be the head of my family. But once in a while, we always usually make plans together. We were a tag team when we were raising those 5 boys. But he had to kind of step in when my boys were in their teenage years, and he told me, you need to let go of that rein you're keeping tight on them. He says, or you're going to lose them altogether. They need to have some slack. They need to become the men and the leaders. And so I had to kind of let up on that mom stuff a little bit and let them turn into the men that they needed to be. And I do see this, Neil, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this, since you have been a leader in the Scouts and a director in the Scouts, that it's important that these boys learn to be leaders, and they learn skills that they're not going to learn anywhere else, as do the girls in Girl Scouts. So let's talk about that a little bit, Neil.
Sure. Yeah, this is all part of the One World program to destroy the male leadership of this country. And they've been at it for a long time now. back when I was in the Boy Scouts, when it was all males, you know, you'd get a little rowdy and stuff on the campouts, things that can't be allowed to go on if there's females present. Let's put it that way. You
Yes,
know, the Boys Club does exist, you know, when there's all guys together and they make up.
Yeah, I raised 5 of them. There was a little boys club in my house that I had to control.
Yeah, right. And I'm the oldest. I'm the oldest of five, but there was one girl in there. There were 4 boys and a girl.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know what it's like to grow up in a big family like that, which, you know, like you pointed out before or earlier on another show, it's not really a big family when you look around. There's some, back then, that had 10, 12 kids in the family. You know,
big now. Now that's a large family, but back in the day it wasn't.
Right. But this program of destruction, you know, started in the military in the mid-'70s. You know, I was also a cadet at the U.S. Air Force Academy, and in fact, mine was the last. The class of 75 was the last class of combat officers trained at the U.S. Air Force Academy. After that, they downgraded the program so the females they were going to be bringing in could keep up. My class graduated 75, and that's when they started the first females in the basic training program out there. And they had to downgrade the program because there's no way they could have made it. I mean, out of 1,504 in my entering class, 250 washed out in the first 6 weeks. And these are guys that are hand-picked nationwide out of over 15,000 applicants. And so, you know, this whole thing is to destroy the ability of the American male to protect his country. That's the bottom line. That's what they're really after here. So, I mean, it's just incredible. You know, the Boy Scouts. You know, the Boy Scouts won their case in the Supreme Court on the issue of the queer issue, and then they turned right around and started letting queers in anyway. You know, and so the whole point of the exercise was they were hoping to get a Supreme Court ruling that would allow them to do it, or that would mandate that they did it, so that the leadership didn't have to take responsibility for doing it. And it just shows you how all these organizations have been infiltrated. You know, everything from the Cub Scouts now all the way up to the highest ranks of the military. Well, you know, look what Obama did to the military. He fired over 5,000, I think it was closer to like 7,500 military officers who were conservative. Anybody that had a Republican or conservative bent, I mean, he started with the admirals and the generals and worked his way all the way down to the lieutenants and eliminated over 7,500 of them. So, you know, it's all about destroying the ability of the American male to stand up and fight to protect his family and his country.
But now let me ask you, have they removed God from the Scouts? Because, you know, when I was in Scouts, it was about God and country. Have they removed
the God and
from
Country?
the Scouts?
I mean, I hold the God and Country Award. It's called the Prodeo et Patria for the Lutheran Church, which is a separate,
I had that too, with
whole
Girl
separate
Scouts.
thing.
It was called something different, but it was an award. I mean, you had to serve, you had to do something,
well, it's called the God and Country Award. It's for service to your church over and above, basically, as a Boy Scout, and it's an award that I got for the Lutheran Scouts. I mean, each branch of the Christian religions have their own, but it's all comes under the same heading of the God and Country Award, is what it's called.
And the Girl Scouts had it. The Girl Scouts had it too, and I actually earned that one as well. My brothers, like I said, they were Eagle Scouts. You know, when the Scouts was about learning how to do things for yourself, being independent, surviving. You had to, you know, they taught you how to kind of be a MacGyver, you know, use your imagination and initiative and to do things. And I don't know what they teach today. I really don't. My boys weren't in Scouts. That wasn't something that they did. There was a Scout troop here, but they weren't in that. And I didn't have any daughters, so I don't know about Girl Scouts around this area. But you know, it's to teach children to be the best they can and to think outside the box and to be leaders, you know, not to be victims, to be leaders. And that's just putting it mildly and, you know, in a simple way. And the fact that we have girls that want to join the Boy Scouts tells me they don't know who they are and they're not proud of who they are. And the same thing with the Boy Scouts. That's why I made the comment. We have Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, and maybe we should just have a I don't know who the heck I am Scouts, and then let them all have the troop competitions, and whoever comes out best will be the best Scout, And it's amazing to me that the parents I guess the parents are as confused as the children, that they don't know who they are. That's why
the children are confused. That's exactly the problem. It's the parents that are pushing these kids. These girls don't really want to join the Boy Scouts. It's something they've been indoctrinated into by their socialist parents, that think this is the thing to do. It's all a brainwashing process.
Well, we're being taught now there's more than two genders, and we're being taught that you can be whatever it is you feel like you are that morning, whether it's the color of your skin or your sex, and it's absolutely ridiculous. A young girl last night, she's been totally ridiculed and called all kinds of names, and people are going after her for this, I don't know, anti-culturalism or cultural something, because she wore a dress that is Asian to her prom. A beautiful dress. It was a modest dress. It wasn't showing everything she had dress, and she was very proud of it and took pictures like teenagers do. And they said, well, she only did it for attention. Well, that's all any teenager wears a dress for is attention at prom.
Right.
Everybody wants to have the prettiest dress or to look their best, and so they were going off on that. And I'm thinking, we've just gone crazy in this country. That they would take a young girl like this and just ridicule her vulgarly on Twitter and Facebook and everything else because she wore a dress that was Asian. It was like a kimono. It was an Asian style dress, beautiful dress, bright, pretty colors, and she looked very attractive in it. And I'm thinking, this is just crazy.
Well, the bottom line is nationwide, people can no longer distinguish right from wrong.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's basically, when you get to the bottom line, that's what it is. What did Christ say? He said, know ye the truth, for the truth shall make you free. Well, what is the truth? Look at Psalms 119, verse 142. The law of God is the truth. Okay? Now, once you know the law, then you can distinguish right from wrong. Because you just lay it next to the law and say, well, is that lawful or isn't it? Real simple. 470 laws, that's all that's in there. It's all you've got in the Bible, and man's got over 4 million in this country alone.
Oh, my gosh.
And this is why people can no longer determine right from wrong, because, like the Bible says, in the end times, they will teach you wrong for right and right for wrong. And it's exactly what the government of this country has been, I shouldn't say the government of the country, but the criminals operating within the government are doing and have done for the last century. It really started downhill with the Civil War, and it's just gone downhill ever since. It's gone to from a constitutional republic, which it was prior to the Civil War, and devolved into a socialist dictatorship. That's fundamentally what we live in
not
today.
Even a democracy. I mean, it's not even a democracy. I mean, Hillary Clinton.
It's not a democracy. You can't. Your votes don't count. They rig all these voting machines. They've got control of those. That's why they're computerized. In the original republic, the men got together locally and determined who their leader was going to be that they would send to the state house or their county leaders. And everybody knew how everybody voted. There couldn't be any voter fraud because everybody's standing there and can see by show of hands who's voting for who. Mm-hmm. But in order to subvert that, they had to go to this secret ballot stuff so nobody would know that the criminals behind the scenes were, in the old days, of course, stuffing the ballot boxes, and now they just get in there and hack the computer and change the votes. So, it's just really a mess.
It's a mess. It is a mess, and I think people are waking up, but I hope it's not too late. I want to ask you, I thought about you when I was looking at this article today, and this is about a homeless man, and have you seen that article? Have you seen this piece of news where this homeless man is suing Los Angeles because they euthanized his pet pigeons? Now, he's a homeless guy. He had them in cardboard boxes and makeshift cages and stuff. Some of them were sick, some of them were this, some of them were that, and so they took his pigeons, and I think he had crow or something too, and they took them, and the two that were healthy, or the two or three that were healthy, they put them someplace safe, and the others were euthanized, and now he's being allowed to sue the city of Los Angeles. And I was just kind of wondering what your thoughts were. They're talking about whether his Fourth Amendment or his 14th Amendment, either one were, discriminated against in it, but how much money? I mean, this is a homeless guy, and I can have some sympathy. He had his little pet pigeons that he'd collected there. He claimed that some of them were sick when he got them, and he was trying to nurse them back to health. And I have no doubt that he's maybe speaking the truth. But how much money is that going to cost the citizens as they litigate this case about these pigeons that the homeless man had? So I'm trying to you can't hardly make common sense out of nonsense, and that's kind of what we're trying to do here.
Right.
So when they're talking about the 14th Amendment, it says no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges of immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. And the 4th Amendment is the right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, no warrant shall be issued, but upon probable cause, supported by oath of affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons and things. And so here we have this homeless man, and I'm betting he's not overly healthy. I'm just betting it, but here we have this homeless man, and he's got these pigeons that some of them are very diseased. One of them had a big tumor on it, and according to the article, and then he had a crow or something else, and he's trying to keep these animals. They're his pets, and I guess they come in and they see how filthy it is, because they were just in their own filth in this little box, in these boxes. And so they take him, but now he's going to sue. The court has claimed that he can sue. This is the Ninth Circuit Court, of course, that he could sue the city of Los Angeles. So, as an attorney, what is your opinion?
Well, first of all, don't be calling me dirty words.
I'm sorry.
Right? I'm not an attorney.
a lawyer.
I'm a
always
lawyer.
get this confused. Okay, a lawyer. As a lawyer,
yeah.
what is your opinion?
Again, there's so many circumstances that they don't give you in the paper. What the actual situation was, and it would be a health. They have the right, if it's a health hazard, to people around him. Like if he's in a little homeless community and he's got all these birds, and there's some kind of health, because birds do carry all kinds of diseases.
Oh, birds are nasty.
You got bird flu and all this other stuff, especially pigeons. So it could be a health problem. But even if he's homeless, he has a right to his personal property, and the cops can't just come in there and take it without just cause. All right. And so that's why they're probably allowing him to sue. And again, it would be the circumstances of the case. And of course, the court is not going to know the circumstances of the case until after the suit's filed, preliminary hearings held, so they can determine, what some of the facts are and see if there is actually a case there. That's just part of the process that you got to go through in these days with this stuff. But and we don't know. Again, Los Angeles has a real bad problem with the police. There are just so many of them that are corrupt, and so many of them that just are bullies and want to go out and harass people. But again, we don't know the situation there. It could have been there may have been other homeless people living in it, because they tend to congregate in certain areas. And some of the other homeless people may have been complaining about the smell and the stench and the what have you. So again, without knowing the circumstances of the case, it's hard to tell
I'm surprised
where it stands.
I'm surprised some of them didn't want to eat them.
Well, exactly. If the guy was an Eagle Scout, he'd probably be living off of them.
Some of them didn't want to eat them. Now, apparently they were sick, and like I said, the article can't tell you everything and doesn't tell you everything. But I had kind of the same opinion as you. It just depends on the situation and what was really taking place. But he does have the right to his pigeons. But he also has the obligation or the responsibility to keep it clean. And so anyway, I was kind of just wondering I was going to pick your brain a little bit, see what you thought. So anyway, I appreciate it, Neil. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Oh, and one issue I did have with you, homeless people do go around and pick up trash off the curb to recycle. And when they do, that's an issue the U.S. Supreme Court's already ruled on. That's not stealing, like you called it the other day. That's when it's sitting on the curb, it's public access. And the U.S. Supreme Court's already ruled this because cities have,
you were talking about when I was talking about my
furniture.
pickup. Yeah.
Right? Yeah, set your furniture out on the curb.
They just pick them up.
Nobody wanted to steal it.
once it's thrown out there, it's public property. Even it was still on my driveway, but it's really out there. We were ready for him to pick it up. So You're right, it's not stealing. I was just disappointed they didn't take mine. Mine wasn't good enough to take. All right, Neil, appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you. We are so distracted with things. And here we have, I watched last night Fox News, and of course you can believe some, not all, and you're still listening to a lot of jargon with these those who are speaking. But I did kind of see last night when Sean Hannity had an interview, and then Laura Ingraham came on, of course, being a lawyer herself, and I think she was a criminal lawyer. She was listening for discrepancies in what was being said and what had been said already, and she found one, and I didn't get to follow up on that late last night because I just finally had to give it up. But it was something that Rudy Giuliani had said. And, of course, now he is on the team with the other lawyers with Donald Trump and over this deal with Mueller. So when you listen, you got to be careful and you've got to be objective and keep your mind open. But we are dealing with so many distractions, and it's degrading, it's demented, it's demonic, and it would appear that to us, if you're watching Fox, unless you're watching mainstream media, it would appear to us that the Democrats, those who keep screaming democracy, are the ones that are pushing stuff so hard against the president, and they are. But I will just bet you, I don't have any money, so that'd be something else, but that the Republicans that hate the president are just as guilty in this situation as the so-called Democrats are. Well, here's an article that's come out, and they've got proof that there are payments being made, money being funded. I'm thinking, why don't they just start a GoFundMe campaign to impeach the president? That's basically what they're doing. They're trying to do it incognito, only they're getting found out. It says, recently released report from the House Intelligence Committee reveals the secret donors and shadow groups are still pouring a lot of money and resources into groups who are desperately trying to impeach President Donald Trump. And this is this particular article, I've seen it in several places, but this particular one's coming from Breitbart. The report reveals that secret donors connected to California Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein paid $50 million to opposition groups for Russian dirt on President Trump after the 2016 presidential election. They will not accept the election. Now, I was thinking about this last night after I'd already turned the TV off. Why is it they will not accept this election? Well, when you stop and think about all the corrupt dealings of not just Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and their Clinton Foundation, but all of the others that have been involved, Eric Holder, President Obama, some of his people, Comey. How many people were involved or knew about things like Uranium One that were going on and did nothing or were a part of it? So they expected life to go on as it was with Hillary's election because she's just the same as everybody else, and I'm talking about President Bush and President Clinton and some of these others. Life would have just gone on the same. But Trump was a disruptor. Now, I don't agree with everything, but he ain't one of them, and they can't stand that. So they're doing all they can to get him impeached or make his life so tough he can't get anything done. However, he's getting a lot done. And we could see where he is going. Whether you like it or not, he is doing some things. that he said he was going to do. And, of course, he hasn't done some things he said he was going to do, and some things he's gone back on. But he is accomplishing a lot, even with the distractions and this dark cloud over his head. Well, this report says, that let this sink in for just a moment. It says the report reveals the secret donors connected to California Senator Dianne Feinstein paid $50 million to opposition groups for Russian dirt on Trump after the 2016 presidential election. And he goes on in this article, which is written by Martin Walsh. Let that sink in, he said. A U.S. member of Congress is connected to shady firms through a former staffer that were paid $50 million to collect information on President Trump with the goal of his impeachment from office. Now, is this a plot? Is this a plan? The report states that Daniel Jones, the president of Penn Quarter Group, and a former staffer for Feinstein, paid former M16 spy Christopher Steele and the research firm he worked for, Fusion GPS. Jones admitted to federal authorities last year that the Penn Quarter Group was given $50 million from 7 to 10 unidentified donors in both California and New York. What is it I have said? Congress is the biggest threat to American liberty. Congress, corrupt Congress, D.C. occupiers occupying offices and cutting deals. President Donald Trump gets elected. He ain't one of them. That's my hick talk. He ain't one of them. And they can't have it. Because he might find out, you might find out, some of why they don't want a wall, some of why they don't fight immigration or illegal immigration, or they want to increase legal immigration. You might find out why the trade doesn't need to be redone, because they're making money and costing you liberty and jobs and all kinds of good things that we should have in a republic. We're going into a break. I have some more here that I want to share with you, but your calls are welcome. 717-300-1218. That's 717-300-1218. You're listening to Power Talks, and we will be right back.
Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net. Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188. The program you are listening to is 100% sponsored by you, the listener, on this First Amendment Rights Media channel. You will notice that there are few commercials on this radio network. There's a good reason for that. Corporate advertising dollars come with strings that limit program content. So without your help, these programs cannot continue on Internet or our several affiliates. If you benefit by the educational law programs, we ask you to give. If you are admonished or nurtured by the Bible and ministry programs, we ask you to give. If some voice a cause that you are passionate about, we ask you to give. If you believe in any of these, we ask you to support them as you would a missionary on a continual basis, as if giving a tithe for missionary radio. These programs are not commercially viable and must be supported by those faithful to the cause of truth. Look for the button to sponsor your favorite programs at our listen and schedule pages on the Internet. Then, when you subscribe, we will send you the last quarterly MP3 CD of that program immediately, and continue to do so with each new quarter. We will also give you unlimited archive access to all of our programs. We're asking you to give much less than a tithe, so that you may also send support directly to a particular program host, cause, and anywhere else the Spirit may lead you. Do all to the glory of our God and Creator, for His holy nation, the only kingdom that will last forever. Thank you for listening. Hear it first on FirstAmendmentRadio.com and FirstAmendmentRadio.net.
To Power Talks. We're in the final segment of today's show. Melody will be back with us tomorrow. We will have Open Mic Friday. I'm certain that we will. Kanye West, whether you like him or not, whether you like the rap that he does, or I think he's in a clothing line too. I think he does that stuff. I don't know. I don't follow him. They say fashion mogul. So he's a Make America Great Again supporter. He loves Donald Trump. Of course, he says he loves everyone. But he took quite the storm on Twitter and ridicule, death threats, everything. Of course, he's a celebrity. He's probably had all that before. He's actually now, and I guess he already had been, but it's actually picking up speed now with what he has announced here in the last couple of weeks. But sources close to Kanye tell us that the rapper created the idea of an organization called Donda Social a while ago, but it's gained some serious momentum this week. We're told the group's focus will be in Chicago, in neighborhoods facing severe problems with housing, education, gun violence, and drinking water. Kanye's friend and Good, G-O-O-D, music affiliate Malek Yusuf, who's also involved in the project, tells us Kanye's wranglered a group of A-listers, close buds, to help as well. He says, we're told that the celeb friend includes Common, Chance the Rapper, Vic Mensa, Don C., and several other Chicago natives. This is what America is. You get up, you start making millions of dollars. You don't take a knee on a football field. You start using what you have to help those that have not, or where you came from. If you believe you're oppressed, if you believe there's a problem, you go and try and fix it. So Kanye is going to try and make a difference in Chicago. Whether you like Kanye or not is not an issue. But if he is filthy rich, and now he's going to go back, and I think he's already been doing it, but now it's increased. He's got other people joining. So the momentum and the money, it's going to increase, and they're going to do something. Wouldn't that be wonderful for Chicago to get cleaned up? Wouldn't that be fantastic? Well, we'll just have to see what happens. Also, since this happened with Kanye, President Donald Trump's approval rating with blacks, particularly black males, has doubled. Now, it says a poll taken on April 22nd this year had Trump's approval rating among black men at 11%. Now, what's T when with the election, was it 13% he got? It says while the same poll on April 29th pegged the approval rating at 22%. It also went on to say it should be noted that Reuters, it was a Reuters poll, only sampled slightly under 200 black males each week and slightly under 3,000 people overall. Trump experienced a similar jump in approval among black people overall, spiking from 8.9% on April 22nd to 16.5% on April 29th. And this all had to do with Kanye West's coming out for Make America Great with his hat on Twitter. Now, he's taken quite the storm from Hollywood. Hollywood hates him right now. How could you dare? How can you dare do this? You know, it's about making America great, but it's about bringing America together. Bringing America together. Standing up for one another's rights, regardless. Not putting them down, not cursing, not vulgarity, but trying to make it better. Kanye and his friends that are in the same business that he's in, they've made it big, partly because of those they left behind. I'm sure that those people they left behind in their communities have paid big bucks for their music, their rap, their clothing lines, or whatever it is that they do. Why not turn around and give back to those communities? And that's what they're going to try to do, and they're going to concentrate on different things. I have an article here. It's not an article. Well, it's a letter to the editor, and I think I've got time to read this to you. I read this on CSC Talk Radio yesterday, and I want to share it with you. It's from a man, I'm just going to call him Ed. He's a good friend of mine. He writes letters to the editor all the time. He was a registered Democrat at one time, but he's a really good Christian man, following the Constitution. He's also a vet. In the movie Last of the Mohicans, a British officer is seen recruiting volunteers for the county levy of men to fight the French and Indians. The hero of the movie, Nathaniel, is asked by the officer, "Do you consider yourself a loyal subject to the crown?" Standing tall, lean and proud, leaning on his long rifle and defiant hunter-trapper replied, "I don't consider myself subject to much of anything, Major." And the frontiersmen and the Indians around him laughed in agreement. Such was a growing American spirit of independence. Several decades later, the words of the Declaration of Independence highlighted and underscored Nathaniel's defiant statement, "We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal and are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." With this unique document, Americans declared to Britain the nature's God has granted certain unalienable rights to men and women. Then they fought and won the War of Independence. This same spirit exists today throughout the heartland, he says. Let's examine our cousins, the British. We are free men while they are subjects to the crown. Their government controls them. Such can be seen by the recent evil inflicted on another family in the UK. Last year it was a baby Charlie Gard, and this year it was Alfie Evans, whose parents were refused to be allowed to travel to another country to get life-saving treatment for their children. This treatment was going to cost the British government nothing, but it would create a precedent of individual freedom which the courts of England could not tolerate. Keep in mind that in 2008, Ed says, a 13-year-old girl, Hannah Jones, was given permission by the same courts to be allowed to refuse life-saving heart transplant. So in England, if you want your sick child to die, it's all right, but if you want your sick child to live, it's not. He says, examine another related issue, the Second Amendment. Very few people know that in World War II, following Dunkirk, Britain was short of firearms. Facing invasion, the British government was hard-pressed to produce enough weapons for the army to let alone supply the disarmed public known as the Home Guard. Therefore, the call went out to America for surplus arms of all kinds to fill this role. Thousands of Americans rushed to loan their rifles, pistols, and shotguns for the Homes of Defense of England. Page 6 of the November 1940 American Rifleman made this plea. Send a gun to defend a British home. British civilians faced with threat of invasion desperately need arms for defense of their homes. The American Committee for Defense of British Homes has organized to collect gifts of pistols, rifles, revolvers, shotguns, binoculars from American citizens who wish to answer the call and aid in defense of British homes. The arms are being shipped, with the consent of the British government, to Civilian Committee for Protection of Homes, Birmingham, England. There is an assault, Ed says, on our freedoms from liberals in this country. With these historical examples of the failure of governmental tyranny, how could anyone consider universal health care or the removal of our right to bear arms as good ideas? There is a very real war rage in America between the liberal left and the conservative right. If we cherish our rights as free men and women, we need to carefully consider who we vote for this fall. And if we choose freedom, he says we need to vote. And this is coming from Ed. He's a vet. He's a retired history teacher and a good friend. You've been listening to Power Talks. Melody will be back with us tomorrow, and we will have Open Mic Friday. Until that time, you have a great afternoon, and we'll see you then.
Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org. When it comes to prophecy today, much of the evangelical Christian world has their eyes on Israel, waiting and watching to see when the third temple will begin to be built. The plans are drawn. The Jewish people are eager. Most evangelical Christians today believe that the rapture will happen before the third temple is built. Hi, I'm Michael Eugene. I was taught that Daniel's 70th week was in the future. Is that really what the Bible teaches? Have we searched the Scriptures and found this to be true? Why is it so important for a re-established Israel to build a third temple in Jerusalem? Is it necessary to build a temple on the same location already occupied by the Dome of the Rock? Is it necessary for sacrifices to take place in the temple on Temple Mount? Is there really a rapture followed by 7 years of tribulation? What is the New Testament temple? Can we identify history and prophecy? Who is the first beast in Revelation chapter 13? Who are the 7 kings in Revelation 17? I have asked all these questions, and I have found Nicholas Arthur's new book, When the Third Temple is Built, answers all these questions and more using Scripture to interpret Scripture. The Bible says that no prophecy of Scripture is of any private interpretation. Nicholas shows us in his new book, When the Third Temple is Built, how the Bible interprets prophecy and not man's private interpretation. Visit crosstheborder.org, C-R-O-S-S, crosstheborder.org, to get your print, EPUB, or PDF version of Nicholas Arthur's new book titled When the Third Temple is Built. That's crosstheborder.org.
The book of Revelation says, the spirit of prophecy is the testimony of Jesus Christ. This is at the very heart of FirstAmendmentRadio.com. In that spirit, we have created the Prophecy Reality News app for all of your mobile devices, streaming First Amendment Radio 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Available for your Apple, Android device, and smartphone, absolutely free. Get the Prophecy Reality News app installed today so you can listen to First Amendment Radio wherever you are. The Prophecy Reality News app. Get it now.
Since the beginning of time, kings have sought it, nations have fought for it. It has been traded, it has been borrowed, it has been purchased, it has been stolen. There's a reason for it. To secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and to our posterity. Invest with the security of gold and silver. Call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188 or visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net. Listen to Financial Survival with your host Melody Cedarstrom right here on FirstAmendmentRadio.com at 4 p.m. Eastern or 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit discountgoldandsilvertrading.net or call Discount Gold and Silver Trading at 1-800-375-4188. Toll free 1-800-375-4188.